What is up, everyone? My name is Ryan. I live in Cambodia. I make videos about it so you can see how pretty I look in the Cambodian sun. I just got back from Canada, my home and native land. I was visiting family and friends. I try to go to Canada like once a year, but I haven't actually lived in Canada for 9 years now. I've spent most of my time in Asia and a couple of years in Ecuador. I think I have to admit now that I'm pretty Asian. Things that were bizarre to me when I first came to Asia are now normal to me. In fact, when I go back to Canada, I am now finding that that culture is more confusing and perplexing to me. Maybe it's because things have changed there. Maybe it's because I have changed. I'm not really sure, but I can say for sure that when I go back to Canada, I experience reverse culture shock. No, that's not a pro wrestling move.
Oh my gosh, he's locked down the reverse culture shock.
Reverse culture shock is when you go back to your home country after being away for a very long time and you find it perplexing, surprising, disorienting. Maybe you're confused about some things. You don't quite fit in. Maybe you feel like your home country is now wacky land. We're going to explore that in this video.
Wacky land, here I come.
Y'all don't know people like this. Y'all don't know people like this. Y'all don't know people like this. Y'all don't know people like this.
Our flight to Canada involved a layover in New York City, JFK Airport, and as soon as we landed, the intensity of North America hit me.
Oh my god, Randy's muscles are so huge. I just want him to grab me and put me in a reverse culture
Say
shock.
it again, Frank. I killed another man, this time with my potato masher.
Hello, Miss Chalupa. It's Dr. Gordita here. I don't have much time. I'm about to jump on a plane, but I just wanted to let you know that you have butt cancer.
I think I'm used to not being able to understand the conversations that are happening around me, so I tune them out. But when you can understand every person around you, like there's 100 people talking and all their conversations are entering your brain, it's just really overwhelming and kind of annoying. So many people walking around FaceTiming on their phone and talking really loudly. I didn't want to punch them in their face per se, but I did wish that their voice boxes would explode in their necks and shoot blood out and pus, and maybe they'd slip on the blood and pus. They hit the ground, their head cracks open, spills more blood, and then I would like run over and dance in the blood and say like, that's what you get for having conversations in English that I can hear. One of the biggest things that I noticed going back to Canada is how Canadian it is, how monocultural it is. I'm used to mixing it up with Australians, Americans, Europeans, of course Cambodians, and all kinds of other Asian people. As an expat, you get to see many different ways of doing things, different ways of talking, eating, different styles. In Canada, you don't really get too much of that. We're a pretty multicultural country, but it doesn't really spread into the small towns that much, and that's where I'm from. I'm from a small town in Ontario. I'd say the fear of foreign influence in Canada surprised me a little bit. I heard one guy complaining about how his town is being overrun by Indians. In Cambodia, the locals are usually excited when they meet somebody from a foreign country, and I think expats embrace other cultures more. Of course, it's always nice to meet a fellow Canadian in Cambodia, but when I meet somebody from a country I've never been to, that's a chance for me to broaden my horizons, to learn something, maybe find a new place to travel to. I never had the urge to travel to China, but then I met a Chinese person and talked to them, became friends with them, and then suddenly I felt like I wanted to move to China, and we moved there for 3 years, one of the best experiences of my life. There seems to be a lot more people in Canada that are grumpy. A cashier might be really short with you. You can just tell they're miserable, they hate their job, and I get it. It sounds like a crappy job. I wouldn't want to do it either. I'm sure there's moments while doing that job that you want someone's voice box to explode. But I think people in Cambodia are far more grateful for the job that they have, and a lot of them work for themselves, which has to be way less depressing. But then you talk to somebody in the service industry in Canada or the US, and they're the nicest person in the world. Nicer than anybody has ever been to me in my entire life. Of course, that's because they're looking for a decent tip. I just find that really unauthentic and kind of annoying. Canada's population is also much older than Cambodia's. The average age in Cambodia is 26 years old, and in Canada it's something like 41 or 42. That's a huge difference, and it makes a big difference in the attitude of the respective places. In Cambodia, there are more bright-eyed people looking forward to their futures. In Canada, there are more tired, disgruntled people shaking their fists at things, and way more people bitching about politics. In Canada, there are people putting signs on their front lawn that say "F Trudeau," referring to the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Now, I've lived in 3 different countries where you weren't allowed to say anything bad about the leaders. It's against the law. You could go to jail. Obviously, I don't think that's right at all. In fact, I think it's probably best to be very critical of the leader of your country, but putting a sign on your front lawn that says "F Trudeau," that is some next level shit. There's a lot of anger there. Now, I told myself I wasn't going to rant about how expensive everything is in Canada, but damn, it is a pricey place. Being away for 9 years means 9 years of inflation, which is about 25% in Canada. So all the prices have gone up 25% since I lived there. But my biggest concern is just how impossible it seems to just get by in Canada. The cost of a phone, internet, transportation, those are so high compared to the costs in Cambodia. In Cambodia, I pay $1 a week for my phone, $4 a month. I chatted to a Bell employee in Canada and they told me it would cost me $65 a month for a basic phone plan. Our home internet in Cambodia is included in our rent, but if I wanted to get internet here, it would cost about $14 a month. Bell says home internet is $65 a month in Canada. So you're looking at $125 Canadian or about $95 US to be connected with your phone and your home internet. And I think most of you would agree that those are pretty necessary things to have now. In Cambodia, those costs equal out to about $20 a month. Transportation costs are a little bit difficult to compare because in Canada, you need a car. It's a whole other topic in itself, the necessity of a car in Canada. I needed to get to the airport for 3 a.m. to fly back to Cambodia, and if I didn't have a ride, it would have cost me so much, probably $200 for a taxi to the bus station, and then another maybe $14 to take a bus from Hamilton to Pearson Airport. Unless you're living in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver, maybe some other places, you pretty much need a car in Canada. And you're going to pay for insurance, gas, licensing fees, repair costs. I paid more money in transportation costs in the 10 days that I was in Canada than I probably have for a year in Cambodia, where I have a scooter. I pay $5 a month for petrol, don't need to pay for a license, I don't need to pay for insurance. I come back to Canada and I have to renew my license, that's $90. I have to put petrol in the car, which is about $100. And that's just to use my mom's car for like a week. It seems like every little bit of Canada has figured out extra ways to make money. You can't bring outside food and drink in. You have to pay extra for this, that, and the other. My friend has a trailer in a trailer park, so we decided to go hang out for the night. Even though he pays $6,000 for 4 months to keep his trailer there, he still can't have guests over for free. It was $28 extra for me to go there and stay overnight. Canada is expensive, and that means more work, less time with friends and family, less happiness overall. Shopping for food in Canada is completely overwhelming. There's so many options. The stores are huge. The portion sizes are insane. The amount of meat that they eat there versus an Asian country always surprises me. Also, the preservatives in food. So many things are frozen or dried or just packed with so many preservatives that they just never will go bad. Nitrates. I didn't even know what a nitrate was before I went back to Canada and they started taking over my body. In Cambodia, we'll get a loaf of bread and it'll last maybe a day, maybe 2 days maximum before it starts going stale. But in Canada, you get a loaf of bread and it'll last a really long time. It seems like a week. It's nice that it doesn't go stale, but at the same time, you have to wonder what's in this bread that's keeping it fresh this long. Maybe nitrates. Could be those nitrates. We won't even go into the details about how that affects my gastro system and the pungency of my farts. And so much cheese. I cannot believe the amount of cheese that we eat in Canada. It's just cheese on everything. We don't need to eat cheese for every single meal. Just calm down with the cheese, guys. And I like cheese. I like it. I think it's delicious. But calm down with the cheese, guys. Holy There also seems to be a lack of rice in Canada. In Cambodia, I eat rice once a day for sure, but I didn't have it once in Canada. No, that's not true. I had it one time in Canada, but it was in a can of chicken rice soup. I don't really think that counts. But I sure did eat a lot of bread, which I think is more processed and not as healthy as rice. Seems like more people don't like vegetables in Canada and in the US and England. I was surprised hearing a guy order a Big Mac with no lettuce on it. That just seemed, this was a grown-ass man going, I can't eat lettuce, I don't like lettuce. What is going on? Lettuce doesn't even taste like anything. People are more sensitive when it comes to textures in food. Surprising amount of people don't like fish. There's just way more picky eaters in Canada, in North America, I'd say, compared to Asia. But it's not just food grossing people out. I've noticed in North America, people have a real problem with feet. They think feet are gross, bare feet, just disgusting. It's like me pulling my foot out is the equivalent to an old man pulling out his left testicle, waving it around like you just don't care. But in Cambodia, people have their feet out all the time. You walk by a tuk-tuk and there's a guy with his feet hanging out taking a nap. You just see feet way more. But in Canada, we wear socks all the time. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's a foot. We all have them. Just calm down, okay? North Americans are also more sensitive to critters. If you get ants in your house in North America, maybe you'll call somebody to take care of them for you. You'll probably freak out a little bit. But in Cambodia, I mean, I see an ant like every day in my house. If I stop seeing ants in my house, then I'd be worried that there's a gas leak or something. Another thing that I wanted to mention is the altering of natural things. That's a pretty weird thing to say. I'm talking about climate, humidity, the water. I'd say about 300 days out of the year, we are putting either heat or cold into our house. Either got the heater on or we got the AC going. We've also got dehumidifiers running in the basement, but in other rooms we've got humidifiers running. Our water is too hard, so we're filtering it through salt or something. I'm not even sure what's going on there. In Cambodia, we don't have hot water in our kitchen. We have to wash our dishes with cold water. I got used to it. It's not really a problem at all. But in Canada, the water is so bloody hot. It comes out of the tap just piping hot. It's too hot to even touch. Why would anyone ever need water that hot to come out of their tap? I think every single place I've been to in Asia and in South America, you can't drink the tap water. You have to buy fresh water to drink. Here in Cambodia, we have to get a big giant bottle of water every few days for our drinking water. I've gotten used to it. It's not really a big deal for me. But in Canada, all the tap water is drinkable. It's super convenient, but it's also kind of weird that we're putting our poos in fresh drinking water. This is a thing that I've thought about the other day, and it just kind of boggled my mind a little bit. Fresh water is probably the most important thing in the world for survival. And in Canada, we're putting our poos in it and flushing it away. I mean, to a Cambodian, that probably sounds pretty crazy. Should we end on the poo thing? I think we'll end on the poo thing. I just want to note that I'm not saying any of these things are positive or negative. Sure, you'll have preferences either way, but it's just everything's different. Cambodia is a developing country that went through a genocide just 45 years ago. Of course, it's going to be way different than a place like Canada, who 45 years ago, the big thing was Michael Jackson's first solo album, listening to it on the newly released Sony Walkman.
You really feel the music with a Sony Walkman.
It's a different world, and that's part of what makes life so interesting. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out more videos I have about living overseas. Take care, comb your hair. I'm out. You really hear the music with the Sony Walkman. You really hear the music with the Sony Walkman.
Prefer when I'm by myself. I don't wanna hang around y'all. For good health. One day I'm really gon' ball. Fuck around and buy the whole mall. Breaking that cake. Flexing 700 in the bank. Not a superhero, I don't save. Look at my face. Look